Now, the 3 steps that we'll be covering here as the agent is step 1, navigating on to SkySlope, and then utilizing SkySlope forms to send out association and broker specific forms. Once we have those forms ready, we're going to then send it through our integrated digital signature tool. We call this DigiSign. In step 3, once we send out those forms, we get the signed forms, then we're ready to go ahead and create a property file. Now we're going to go ahead and navigate right on over to SkySlope Suite so we can begin walking through those 3 steps that you will have here as an agent. And this is going to be the main page you are brought to each and every time that you log into your SkySlope account. The main page you are brought to is what we call SkySlope Suite. And SkySlope Suite is going to be where you come to create listings, create transactions, and then you'll also see these hyperlinked active files. So you'll be able to see what's scheduled to close, what's active, pending, allowing for you to quickly navigate through these files. Now, in the upper left-hand corner, you will see SkySlope's logo. This logo will be replaced by your brokerage's logo in your actual account, but this logo acts as a home button. So anywhere you are within SkySlope Suite, all you need to do is select on the logo here, and it will revert you right back on over to your main page. As I previously mentioned, though, we really do rave about our support team. And in addition to the different ways I just showed you how to communicate with our support team, you have access to our support page at any time. Here within SkySlope, you'll see a help icon here in the upper right-hand corner. And when you select on that, it leads you right on over to our support page. And on our support page, you can search by keyword. So let's say I type in agent, getting started for agent, everything that might be affiliated with the keyword agent. And you'll have different resources here. If you're a more visual learner, you can watch tutorials. If you want a more step-by-step process, we also have that here for you as well. You can also look at popular topics. So these are popular topics that other people are searching for. And then if there's something that you want to learn more about for a product within SkySlope, you can look at that on a more granular level as well. Now, if you do want to communicate with our support staff via instant message, you will find that on our support page in the lower right-hand corner by selecting Start Chat. It'll pull in your information, and then you just need to input in your message here and select Start Chat. Now, back on over to SkySlope Suite, your first step as an agent is going to be to execute your association and any broker-specific forms that you need to get executed. So again, your first step is always to start within forms. Right now, we're on SkySlope Suite, but we're going to use the apps icon here in the upper right-hand corner, and we're going to go ahead and navigate on over to SkySlope Forms. Now, everything's integrated into the same exact platform, just different ways to access. So we're going to go ahead and navigate from SkySlope Suite and navigate into SkySlope Forms. And the first time that you're brought to this page, it will ask for you to set up information. So I want to walk through the information it will ask for you to set up. Your user profile. This is going to ask you to enter in personal information as well as professional information. It's very important to enter in all regions that you serve within. Really take the time to detail this out. And then once done, of course, just making sure you select Save. This information will automatically populate when you're utilizing your association and broker-specific forms. So this information will automatically populate, reducing the amount of manual work that you actually have to enter into the association and broker-specific forms. Once you enter and complete this section, we then want you to navigate on over to libraries and go through and add all association libraries that you are affiliated with. So here in my demo, you'll be able to see I have all of these already connected. But just know that in order to search, you just need to go ahead and input in the library here. And then you'll enter in your NERDS ID as well as your last name. And that's just confirming to the association that you are in fact affiliated. Richmond office, can you elaborate on the agent MLS code?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it's in the personal information. You have agent license number and this says agent MLS code.
Mhm.
Scroll up, it's right there. Do we need to put that in?
If you want that to automatically populate, yeah.
Well, we don't even know what that is technically, so I guess we don't need to then.
Oh yeah, you can leave it. Yeah, they're just fields if you want to fill them out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, can I add something into this real quickly?
Yeah.
So one thing to note, some of our agents have noticed this. If you are a RealComp or My Real Source, you're going to want to add yourself as GMAR and Michigan Realtor. So there's a couple of different areas. There's not a RealComp or My Real Source specific, but those libraries are included under GMAR and MR.
Okay, perfect.
If you've already done that, how do you go back and add one?
Just to the libraries, that's where you go to add in all association libraries.
Is it necessary to put your license number in there as well? Is that a requirement? Will the system go without that?
No requirement. Again, all of those are just, for you to fill out if you choose. Any other questions before we move on? All right, then. So that covers the setup for the user profile as well as the libraries. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start our demo as the agent. So as I mentioned, every file creation begins within SkySlope Forms, and that's because to integrate this into a listing or a transaction, you have to begin within SkySlope Forms first. So we're going to go ahead and walk through the different questions that it will ask to create a forms file. Who is the client? So who are we representing? I'll select seller here for this example. And then we'll go ahead and input in that email. Now, next is their property. So I'll go ahead and enter in the property that we're going to go ahead and utilize for this file. And then how would you like to name the file? So this is how you're going to locate it on the main forms page that you are brought to when you navigate on over to SkySlope Forms. Personal preference of mine, I do like to keep it with the address, but you can always customize this if needed, or you can toggle it on to the primary client as well. Is everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Richmond, when I tried adding the Michigan Realtors, it stated I do not have access. I would contact the association just to confirm that the NERDS ID is in fact correct. Now, lastly, before we officially create this file, would you like to start with one of your templates? So as an individual user, each of you can go in and create your own template. The purpose of the template is to be proactive. So rather than adding in forms and documents individually each and every time, you know what you work with every single day. And we want you to have the ability to make that process a little bit easier by having these templates already created. Now, you also have brokerage templates available. Your office staff has gone through and created these. That way they're readily available within your account. And I want you to notice that the brokerage templates as well as the personal templates are only pulling over seller. That's because it will only pull over templates that are going to pertain to the representation type that you selected. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and select this, and then we'll select create. And then it's pulling over the forms that live within that template. If you need to add something, maybe it's not included in the template, you can always add forms here. This will take you right on over to your association as well as your broker library. You also have the ability to upload documents directly from your desktop. So if this is a PDF or maybe a piece of marketing, you could always upload that and include it when you're sending out to your client. Now here, our next step is going to be to start getting these ready to send out to our client. Now you can select all. However, time purposes, I'm just going to select this first one, and then we'll move forward by selecting fill and send. Now from fill and send, let me go ahead and grab a different form real quick. So from fill and send, this is going to pull over the document that we are getting ready to execute to our client. And you'll see here that these are mapped and fillable and matching exactly how they are within your association. And then you'll see here the benefit of going through and setting up your personal as well as your professional information is all of this is automatically populating here for me. So we don't have to worry about manually entering that information in. That's already populating here for us. Now, next, we're going to go ahead and get ready to prepare a signature. Envelope name. Again, I like to keep it with that address, but I do like to customize what we are sending out. And I'll show you why once we get there. But below that are going to be the recipients. So we have Julia, she needs to sign. And then we have myself because I'm the one executing this to Julia, but I'm going to update this to just receive a copy. And then next is going to be the final step prior to sending this out to your client. This is walking through DigiSign. DigiSign, again, is our integrated digital signature tool. And this is going to pull over forms. And again, those association forms are already mapped exactly how they are within your association. From here, if you maybe need to add an additional toolbar item such as a signature, initial, maybe even just a text field for them to read, you can add these in here before sending it out to your client. You can also make any edits to your recipients as well before you send this out to your client. Once you're ready, everything looks good. Our final step is going to be to select send. Carolyn, did you have a question?
Just real quick, and I hope I'm not getting ahead. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes we meet with clients and they're signing hard copies. Will
Uh-huh.
there be a way to scan and upload also?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So when you go in and you select a form, you'll see here it populates this in the lower right-hand corner, and you have the ability to print. Once you print it, you go in person, you get it signed. I will later show you how you can get that directly into a file. Does that sound good, Carolyn?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So navigating back on over to envelopes, this draft was the one I tried doing, so we're going to delete that. But if you remember a couple slides back, I said it's why I like to detail out why or what is included in our envelope is if you're sending, different documents at different times, you're going to have a list of envelopes. And for the envelopes, what I like to do is detail what's in each envelope that way. Instead of having to select on into it to see what's included, I say, okay, well, I know that this is my business listing agreement, so I already know what is included here. Our next step is going to be, we're going to transition from being the agent and we're going to put ourselves in our client's shoes. And I want you to be able to see what your client will receive when you send those items over. So navigating on over to my inbox, they're going to see that here is a message. My name will be replaced by yours. And when they select on in here, there's that personalized message you can include, and they can see that their signature has been requested. All they need to do is select get started. And then at any time that they hop on in here, it will ask that they accept e-signature terms just because their signature is being requested. And all they need to do is select I agree. Now, from there, they can read word for word, but once they're ready to start signing, they just need to go ahead and select that start button. That start button is going to navigate them to each required field on their behalf. The first time that you select on in there, it will allow for you to customize their signature and their initial. And again, it will walk them through each required field. So what this is ensuring is on the client's end, they won't be able to finish signing this document. This will be grayed out until they get all 7 of 7 required fields. Then once that's completed, you'll see the finish signing button is active. And it also means to you as the agent, they wouldn't have been able to do that without getting in all required fields. They will have the ability to download this to their desktop. And then navigating back on over to SkySlope, you'll see that that status for that envelope is now marked as completed. The status column in multiple different features within SkySlope is always going to reflect in real life time. So you're going to be able to see that this was completed. And then on each envelope that you have in this list, all you need to do is select these 3 dots and it will populate different actions here for you. You can download the envelope, rename, view history. That view history is a great way to monitor the activity in here. So SkySlope started out here for complete compliance reasons. And we want to incorporate compliance within every feature that we possibly can. So within each envelope that you send, you'll be able to look at the activity log. Let's say Julia were to call me and say, hey, I never saw your contract. I could quickly hop on into the activity log for that envelope and just get a quick reference of the activity that took place there. So I could see when she viewed it, when it was signed, and when it was even marked as complete. Now, before I navigate into our next step, I just want to take a brief pause and see if there are any questions that you guys have.
I have a question regarding the going back to the signature process.
Yeah.
If we send a document, for instance, like a seller's disclosure sheet, and that requires a homeowner to complete that document prior to signing it or at the time of signature, are they able to do that? Or
In
the system just direct them to the area requiring signature?
It'll have optional fields on there as well. So if there's anything that specific representation needs to fill out, whether it's a signature, initial date, or check fields, all of that will be included there for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. This is for the seller side. So right now we use Transaction Desk, and when we start a listing, we can pull the house information from the taxes and it pre-fills that in. I did not catch if this system does that or not.
If we have an active MLS, if the MLS is active within SkySlope, you can do an import from the MLS, but that would be the only thing that would automatically populate.
Okay, so if it's not listed in the MLS yet, which it can't be without the paperwork,
Mhm.
we won't be able to import anything and pre-fill in those things that the other system fills in for us then.
Yeah, correct. Did that answer that question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, of course. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna navigate from SkySlope Forms and we're gonna go back to where we started on SkySlope Suite. So just to summarize, we log into SkySlope Suite. Any file creation begins on SkySlope Forms. Our next step is going to be dependent on who you are representing within the form section. So here you'll be able to see create new. If we were representing the buyer, we would go into create new transaction. Because we were representing the seller, we're going to go ahead and select create new listing. This information is going to ask a few questions here, representation type, as well as the property. So when I click into this search function, it is pulling over that forms file that we just created in Forms. So rather than manually entering all of this, we're just going to go ahead and select on that Forms file that we left off on. And we're just going to fill in the remaining questions. So first one is going to be the checklist. This is going to be and look different in your actual account. The street address we already input. Because I filled this listing price out on the association form, this information is also automatically populating here for you. Go ahead and enter in the listing and expiration date, and then you'll see it already pulled over our seller. Here you can enter in commission if needed. And then from there, you have officially created your listing file. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, everything is integrated into one platform here in SkySlope. And the benefit of that is it's getting everything intended where it's intended to be without you really having to go through and manually put that information there. So here in the listing file, you'll be able to see the property address and then different tabs up at the top. First one being the listing tab. This is all information pertaining to this specific listing. The contacts tab, any contact affiliated with this listing. And then the checklist tab. And this is going to be your most frequently used tab when it comes to a listing file or a transaction file. Underneath the checklist here, this is always going to reflect a checklist. And keep in mind, when you create a listing, you can pull one checklist. And then if that listing is converted to a transaction or you begin with a transaction, you'll also be able to pull one checklist for the transaction side. The status column is always going to show what's required for you to turn in and what is if applicable. And then a few different ways to get those items attached. You can go ahead and grab something directly from your desktop, populate it into one of the required fields here. You can go ahead and select the attach button here, and it's going to pull over from the documents tab. Or one of my favorite features here within SkySlope is the property specific email. Now that property specific email is going to be populated for any listing you create and any transaction you create. And the email is personalized to that file. So this kind of goes back to, I believe it was Carolyn's question on if you have to print something out and you get the signatures, how do we get that uploaded? So what you're able to do is a few different ways. If it's that situation that Carolyn mentioned and you're printing it out, you can scan it in and put in this email. When you put in the email, that scanned document will automatically be stored underneath your documents tab. You can also use that property specific email and CC it in your correspondence to your client. And when you do that, we're going to go ahead and select forward, and we're going to put in that property specific email. Anytime that you forward something or that you CC that property specific email, it will automatically save any PDF to that documents tab. So going back on over to SkySlope, as I mentioned, anything that is emailed in or scanned in will be stored underneath your documents tab. So let's go ahead and navigate on over to documents. And here is that listing packet that we just sent from Julia. Same exact situation if you scanned it in. So if Carolyn was going, printed it out, got it signed, scanned it in, it would be here waiting for you as well. You'll also see right below that is the association form that we started with in our forms, in the forms portion. So again, furthermore proving the benefit of having everything integrated into one platform is We didn't have to download the association, navigate to different platforms. It got exactly where it's intended to be. Now, from one great feature to another, I want you to think of those packets that you get, and it might contain multiple different pages, and it might contain multiple different things that you want uploaded to your checklist. And maybe currently you're printing it out, separating it, getting it exactly where it's intended to be. You have the ability to split that directly here within SkySlope. So let me show you what I mean. We're going to reference that packet that we sent from Julia. I selected that empty box on the left-hand corner, and now we're going to go ahead and select split. So what we're doing is we're splitting apart a large document. Now, there is an AI component to this. The more you do this, the more the algorithm will learn how to separate it on their end. I'm going to go ahead and select clear suggestions and do this manually for us. And on the left-hand side, when you select into new document name, it's going to pull over the checklist. So here you'll be able to see different items that are on the checklist. And then you can say what page it starts and what page it ends. So 1 to 5. Let's say we do a listing agreement, 6 to 9. And then a seller advisory. Once you go through, you separate it. 2 options. You can split it. Maybe you're not quite ready to attach this to the checklist, but you want them to be saved as you've split it apart here. Or maybe you're ready to split and also assign, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to select on split and assign. You split 3 documents and 3 were attached to your checklist. So let's navigate back on over to the checklist. And you'll see those once 3 required statuses are now reflecting in review. Again, that status column is always going to reflect in real life time. So that in review status is indicating that you've submitted your document. It's now in the hands of your admin team to go in and either approve or deny. Any questions regarding that process? Okay, then anytime that your office staff goes in and approves or denies a document, it will also send over an email. So let's reference that email. Broker Bob sent me an email referencing checklist update for this property address. And when you receive this as an agent, you're going to be able to see the checklist has been updated. Here's that property specific address. And then you'll get a bird's eye view of the checklist for that file. So here you're going to be able to see, cool, looks like my listing agreement was approved because that's now reflecting a completed status. Still need to get in a copy of the MLS printout because this was marked as required for that checklist. Anytime your office staff denies a document, the status will be updated to incomplete. And the incomplete status is indicating that they rejected an item. And they also have the ability to detail out why they rejected an item. So here you're going to be able to see missing signature on page 2, which means you could go directly to this hyperlink, go to page 2 and get that missing signature completed. Now, if you uploaded something before you needed to, no worries. All you need to do is select that X and select remove, and it will always revert back to its original status. Now, let's say we have an interested buyer. We're ready to go ahead and convert this into a transaction. All you need to do is select accept contract, and it will convert this directly into a transaction. So let's navigate on over to transactions so you can see what that looks like. Just to summarize, if you had select the create transaction, it would walk you through a pretty similar process that we just went through. If you do create listing, we just did that. And then the more listings that you create, you can navigate into view listings to view all of them. Same with the transactions. The more transactions that you create, the more that you will have to view underneath view transactions. And we'll navigate on in here so you can see what a transaction file looks like. Pretty similar to the listing. Instead of a listing tab, it now shows a transaction tab. Same exact context tab. The only difference is going to be in a transaction file, you have a commission tab. The commission tab is just going to reflect the sales price as well as the listing and sales commission. And then to the right of that is going to be, again, that infamous checklist tab. This is where you're going to be able to see what is required on your behalf for the sales documentation. And then if this began as a listing file, so we went through, we converted from a listing into a transaction, that listing checklist would come over as well. So it will always keep everything all together. And then that documents tab, we walk through how to get things uploaded into the documents tab. In the log tab, anytime you create a listing file, anytime you create a transaction file, you will have a log tab. Again, because SkySlope, started for compliance, we want to make sure that you have compliance for everything that you possibly can. In the log tab within a listing or within a transaction, we'll log any change, any update, anything that took place within this specific file. If you do choose to use that property specific email as a CC in an email, it will also be hyperlinked in the log tab. So you'll see here email received. If I select on in here, you're going to be able to see exactly what was included in that email, including the attachment. Now, at any time you can come here, select download or cancel the transaction. If you do cancel a transaction, you'll be able to detail out why. And once you select cancel transaction, it's actually sent to your office staff to fully cancel out. Now, if this started as a listing, it will ask if you want to reactivate the original listing. So you're not losing anything that took place on the listing side. Any questions regarding that before we move on? The final things that I want to cover is going to be this more drop-down box here. You're going to be able to view access archives, canceled contracts, any tasks that you've set for yourself. So the benefit with SkySlope is nothing is ever deleted. It's simply reorganized. So if you know that you closed out a file and it was canceled on behalf of the office staff, rather than combing through all of the different transactions, you could quickly navigate into canceled contracts and get that and view that quicker than combing through everything that you have in your transactions. In addition, you have quick access to everything that's outlined here. And you also have the ability to search within this search queue here. Now, the last thing that I want to go ahead and cover is just like we set up your forms profile in our demo, you can also edit my account within SkySlope Suite. So in the upper right-hand corner, when you navigate down to my account, you can select on personal information, anything that pertains to you, such as your phone number, your email, anything that might change. And then the one thing that I like to focus on is notifications. This is a great way for you to enable how you want to be notified. Let's say email me if a listing passes the expiration date, you toggle that on. Moving forward, you'll always be emailed once the expiration date comes up. Is there an ability to be able to create a test listing and sales so we can take it for a demo? Absolutely. I actually encourage you to do that. I think that's a great way to learn. And you can always have that active. That way, as you start to get acclimated within the platform, you can always go back and reference that. But that covers our agent training here for you. Again, the most crucial thing that I could focus on today is just to always feel the support of our support team. I can let you know that I still contact our support team every single day. I utilize our support page pretty much every single day. The resources that you have access to will always be able to answer any questions that you have. So if a document is updated, so like within an association, they send us over those updated forms and our team will always ensure that they're updated. But I will leave the last remaining. Yes, it is mobile friendly. We do have an app in the App Store. Now, if there are any other questions, please let me know. I'll stay on here for a few more minutes. But again, I appreciate you all taking the time today to hear me speak. I know I talked a lot. Will it update those active transactions? So keep in mind that you're the ones executing the association forms, and when it's stored in a transaction and or a listing, it's stored as a PDF. So if it's already been signed, it will not automatically update. Of course. All right, then I will go ahead and let you guys go. Doesn't look like. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know I mentioned it a few times, but SkySlope really did start for compliance. So the tracking, everything that you have access to, I really think is going to be a great benefit. Just really take the time to learn everything that you have access to. That way you could take advantage of everything that SkySlope has to offer. And just reiterating, I do think it's just such a great idea to create a demo or a testing file for a listing and a transaction to really allow for yourself to get the hang of it. But thank you all so much for joining here today. And again, if you have any questions, please contact our support team. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you all.